And now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you two racing drivers, or one racing driver and a rider, actually a MotoGP world champion from Hungary from 2007. Gábor Talmácsi is here with us, and as well the Formula 2 driver from Israel, Roy Nissani. Roy, can we start with you, if you can hear us?
Of course. Hi, everyone. Great to be here.
Roy, thank you very much for jumping in, and congratulations for your point scoring finish in Le Castelli recently. You started on the 20th, from the 20th position, and you finished in P9. Well done.
Thank you. You know, Zoli, always there is a big question. What is better for a race driver, to start last and come to the front, or to start first and win the race? You know, so one is more successful, guaranteed, but the other one is way more fun. So I definitely enjoyed it last Sunday.
That's right. And you are a very important person here, Roy, I have to tell you, because you started your racing career, and as the ambassador mentioned in his welcoming words, here in Hungary, and your dad is a multiple Hungarian champion in Formula racing category, and we know each other personally. So it's great to have you here on the meeting, or in this meeting. So Roy, just very briefly, what is your relation as a racing driver to the innovation? So if you have a good idea, or your engineer has a good idea, could you find that crucial milliseconds on a lap on the Hungarian, for example?
Well, it's very interesting. You know, many times I had a couple of ideas popping up my mind, and I went up to the Williams third floor in Grove, to the design department, and, you know, threw my ideas in the air. And sometimes it is applicable, let's say, and sometimes not. And there are, let's say, endless possibilities on one hand, but on the other hand, we have to make sure that we adhere to certain regulations, either if it's sporting regulations or safety regulations that are very strict, of course. And this is basically dictating what the technology can be, or this is the main limiting factor of how much technology we can implement into a certain category. Yeah. So I think I've seen a lot of amazing startups coming and rising and entering Formula One. And many of them are in the area of support or IT or analyzing and so on. So there, the sky is the limit. But from my experience, if someone can bring to the table an advantage of lap time within regulations, it's priceless.
Yeah, that's very true, Roy. Talking about safety regulations, we have to say that one safety tool called the Halo just saved your life a few weeks ago in Silverstone, where you had a huge shunt with your fellow driver.
Yes, so going to safety, the Halo is definitely an important one, and we saw a lot of criticism around it at the beginning. 2018 it was when it was presented. So yeah, happy to have it, because otherwise I wouldn't have been here probably. And just understanding the way it works, it's a titanium piece, identical for everyone, with some aero adjustments, especially for the F1 teams, that is making the car much safer. And yeah, well, safety technologies is, again, priceless. We always want to see more and better.
Yeah, that's right. And great to have a chat with you here about this crash in Silverstone. You are working and acting as a test driver and development driver for the Williams Formula One team, which is one of the oldest and most prestigious teams in the Formula One's history. What is your daily job as a test driver? So we have very sophisticated simulators in the Formula One. Are you using the simulator of the Williams Formula One team?
Yes, and quite often. The simulator is used daily, either by me or other drivers, to try and develop and test different kind of setups, parts. Obviously, it's not just Williams, every team does it. And it's one of the greatest tools we can have to try and measure, understand what happens with every new evolution part, and it works. I mean, it's amazing how similar the car can be in terms of behavior inside a corner from a simulator, being in a basement in the UK when it's rainy outside, and I'm just in front of a screen, and a week later I'm in the car in sunny Barcelona and going into the corner, and the car behaves the same. And a tweak in the anti-roll bar will make the exact change from the simulator to reality. And this is a tool that is so important for the F1 engineers to have, obviously.
Roy, I will come back to you soon, but let me ask our other guest from the racing world, Gábor Talmácsi, the MotoGP world champion from 2007, who is a Hungarian resident. Gábor, let's take two wheels away and let's talk about riding a bike. I mean, I'm a huge fan of MotoGP, and they are doing crazy things. How technology is developing in the MotoGP or in the bike racing industry, Gábor?
Very welcome, everyone. I'm very happy to stay with you. I would like to pick three topics regarding the technological innovation in motorcycle sport. The first is the safety, which is Roy explained in the car racing, but I would like to explain something regarding the safety in the motorsport in the two wheels. The first is the airbags. For several years, MotoGP and Superbike and this year are increasing number of smaller championships are requiring to use the airbag. So it's to increase the rider safety. It helps a lot in case of slips, falls, and in case of high side accidents. It has an important role in protecting the neck, the collarbone, the shoulder, of course. And the most important things, of course, the racetracks for the two wheels sports. I mean, road racing, motorcycle is so important, the runoff area. So I would like to give you an example. Car racing, they can competing between the walls, like city racing or something like that. But in motorcycle racing, we need a safe racetrack, which has a big runoff area and good safety area. So this is the key points. And day by day, of course, the innovation is higher and higher. And I explained the airbags topic, but of course, the most important, the safety racetracks.
So,
and
just one question about the safety of the racetrack, Gábor. So is it that's why we do not have too many racetracks when the two series, the MotoGP and the Formula One, are running a race? So there are 3 or 4 in the whole calendar, in the 20+ calendar of both series.
Yes, it's true. Basically, 3 or 4 tracks which are allowed to organize MotoGP and Formula One. Because FIM and FAI, they go, of course, a different way. The rules are different. And just imagine if you crash with motorcycle and the safety area is asphalt, especially on the wet. If you lose the front, you can easily touch the wall, even if the wall is 50 meter or 100 meter far away from the racing line. But if you have a good gravel area, you can slow down. The airbag will protect you. And of course, the racing suit is now the protection is a really high level protection. So just different sport, and I have to say different rules. Yeah. But of course, we have to following the rules because the safety is very important.
Okay, so just one question about the electrification, Gábor. We all see that it's happening in the mobility world. What about the MotoGP? Do you have an electric category?
Of course, we call Moto E. It's under the MotoGP series. It's a World Cup, basically. Started 2019. And it's really exciting. But at the moment, of course, they are struggling with the bike weight because the normal bike weight, it's around 160 or 70 kilo in the biggest class in MotoGP. But at the moment, the Moto E bikes are 100 kilo more. which in two wheels makes a little bit difficult. And of course, the races are a little bit shorter, like not like 25 laps, but like 5, 6, 7, 8 laps. They, of course, year by year, they improve the technology, and we believe that it will be longer races in the future. But of course, it starts 2019, and the championship is very, very exciting.
Gábor, are you a fan as well, a MotoGP racing fan as well, enthusiast fan?
Of course, I following a lot of races, and I do a lot for the young riders, especially inside the HUMDA, the agency, motorsport agency. We created now the academy, so we are really supported the Hungarian young riders and drivers, which is very important for Hungary.
And as far as I know, you are involved in SportTech Hungary, and the fan engagement is very important for this initiative as well.
Yes, I'm a sport ambassador in the SportTech Hungary program. Was established to prepare the Hungarian sport technology invitation for the international market, and to ensure the uniform and effective appearance and promotion of their validation. Through this program, we support the establishment of domestic technological developments, innovations, as well, and the international partner networks represented by the Hungarian sports and athletes. And it's exciting to see that beside the technical development in motorsports, there are more innovations and activations focusing on bringing the drivers and the fans together to offer a more enjoyable experience. And besides fans having access to telemetry and lap time data now, they can support their favorite drivers through a fan engagement platform. So one of these company we call Szujó. It's a startup company, and they are everywhere in the world. And I represent them as a motorsport expert, and I give them all the important, relevant information in motorsports. So yes, entertaining the fans is very important in motorsport. So I'm very proud that I can support the Hungarian innovations and startup companies.
Gábor, Tamir is still with us here from Grip, so I recommend to have a chat, a private chat with him, because I think there are some common things between what you are doing and the Grip company represented the CEO by the CEO Tamir Plachinski here in our webinar. So I think you can have a discussion about this one. Back to you, Roy. But just before I ask Roy about how does it feel to to live the dream of a racing driver, I would like to announce and let you know to all viewers that you will have the opportunity to ask some questions. So please, if you have any questions to our panelists, just type in the chat field, and I will ask them from our panelists. Thank you very much. So, Roy, how does it feel to live the dream as a racing driver, traveling all around the world with good cars, racing on the weekends? I mean, that was fantastic, but I can imagine that you are working a lot.
A lot, yes. And I know it sounds very glory, very shiny, but it's a lot of hard work, of course. Athlete's life is very full of hustle, training every day and so on. But I love it not just because I'm a car lover and then a driving lover and an adrenaline junkie, but also I am very enthusiastic from the technology, from if we are in this subject today and understanding what is inside a Formula One car, understanding the systems around it, the technology of downforce, the engineering behind. It's a miracle. It's like a miracle. This thing can suck so much air off the ground, can hold itself so fast around the corner. I guess most of us here have been to at least one Grand Prix and saw a Formula One car driving a fast corner, just watching it from the outside, and you see a vehicle driving so quick on an asphalt that it just looks like a kind of a roller coaster, but in fact not on rails. It's just spectacular, and thinking about all the engineering force behind it, I just love it. And I think for technology in general, motorsport is kind of a peak performance environment for technology to express itself, because obviously we cannot test peak technology on a normal road usually, so it would transfer into a motorsport kind of activity. I'm also involved in a new circuit in Hungary called the Balaton Park circuit, which is expected to open mid the next year, and it will be a very technology involved track with a lot of systems around it to help the cars and the engineers, and also a great stage for tech companies to test their products. So a part of loving what I do and being focused 25 hours a day in driving, I'm also kind of a little tech enthusiast.
I just love to listen to you and hear your words. I mean, you can feel the passion on your words. How can you use motorsport to promote, for example, the STEM? You know, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So we are not talking about that we try to find the new drivers or riders in case of motorbike racing, but we trying to find the new engineers, which is a beautiful thing to work on this level of engineering, or aerodynamics, or car electronics, etc. So can we use the motorsport to find the young and the new generation of engineers as well?
Absolutely. And there is always a need for engineers, and there's always room. And I think an engineer that is going into Formula One, whether he's a motorsport enthusiast or not, he will find himself and he will fulfill his purpose, because you have all the tools you need and you have the stage to thrive. And it's just making wonders in the engineering world, F1. It absolutely is. And just going around, visiting the box and going behind the scenes, seeing an unattached floor of Formula One, just watching the piece is it's like a big dining table. It's basically the size of the car, and you just see it flat and see all the little sensors on it, and understanding that this little piece is creating so much downforce and pulling the car down. Watching a tire, how powerful a tire is. And by the way, it's another beautiful niche for technologies to try and understand the tires deeper and deeper, because this is an area that the teams are always happy to get more and more insight of. So as we say, there are endless possibilities.
Yeah, and keep the tires working and find the best grip. I think that's an amazing thing, and that's the key of success in motorsport. Back to you, Gábor. If we are talking about safety and communication to the riders, maybe it's a bit more difficult compared to the Formula One or car racing, because in the cars, of course, you have the radio communication, at least with your team, and you can send some messages from the race control to the dashboard of the car. What about in the MotoGP or motor racing or other categories of motor racing, with the communication of the race control to the riders?
Yes, this is another development which is in the past years. Recently in MotoGP, race control has been able to send messages directly to the rider dashboard. For example, about penalties or such as ride-through or long lap penalties, track limits, warning flags, or in MotoGP class, the flag-to-flag races when rider can switch the motorcycle. So it's an important innovation. It's replaced the messaging on the pit board, on the pit wall, and makes it clear, visible to the riders, because they can see the race control messages on the dashboard, which is very important, because when you are focusing we have shorter race, like car racing. So like compare MotoGP and Formula One. Formula One do like double distance. So riders need relevant information. And this is a kind of innovation which is very helpful.
Yeah, this kind of communication from the race control is very important, Roy, as we saw it in Le Castellet during the French Grand Prix in the Formula One. It cost one position for Sergio Perez when there was some misunderstanding or a late message on the boards, the virtual safety car ending, and George Russell was sharp enough to overtake in the final phase of the race Sergio Perez.
Yeah. I mean, radio communication with your engineer is everything. If you think about it, I mean, this is a car race and not a driver race. So it means that the driver has obviously a very big role, but at the end, he's driving the car, which is racing. And the only connection that you have with what's going on in the outside is your engineer in your ear. You don't want him to speak too much. You don't want him to speak. You want him to speak enough and give you the right information in the right time. And I think just understanding this type of communication, there are a lot of possibilities to make it more efficient. But this is up to our tech geniuses. I'm just the driver, as they say.
I mean, a very important element in the jigsaw of motorsport and car racing. Roy, what do you think about the newest regulations or the direction of the newest regulations announced recently by the FIA, the Federation of Automobile Clubs of the World, who is responsible for the Formula One? So there was a line that they would like to highlight and use the car-to-car communication on the racetracks. So do you think that using the car-to-car communication, we are able to avoid, let's say, nasty or even fatal accidents on the race tracks?
It's a big debate because at the end we are humans, and when I put each one of us in a very heated situation, which is a race and inside a battle trying to overtake, I'm not sure the best of each person will come out, because it's a very stressful situation. We hear the drivers, they can be angry, and even myself, sometimes I hear myself talking in the radio and I say, okay, it's not the usual calm Roy that I know, and sometimes things can get more heated. I would say direct communication of actual speaking to another driver it could be too much, but perhaps an alerting kind of system by beeps or other sounds would be more efficient and more correct and precise, let's say.
Yeah, the wording was very interesting, because they are not talking about driver-to-driver communication, but car-to-car communication. So I can imagine that there is a system in the car. When a driver makes a mistake, then it can avoid a kind of crash or accident. I don't know what's the direction.
Yeah, of course. Then I mean, is it strictly car-to-car? Because then there could be, some misjudgments, or is it a driver that presses a button is also another interesting debate, and that could have prevented many things. But on the other hand, it could be used strategically. So this has to be addressed in the regulations to try and avoid this if we want to. But yeah, certainly sometimes there is a situation that is basically unsolved, and the regulations keep changing about two cars are going into a corner. Who is entitled for the position? Is it the attacker if he's more than half a car? So now the regulation has changed that he has to be more in front. It used to be just the tip of the car. And it's hard to say. And every situation has to be addressed individually. But at the end, it's fraction of a second kind of decision that we have to make. So this has to be well understood in our mind as drivers. And the technology has to be there to analyze, or at least to try and prevent. It's a big debate to be discussed with the FIA, with the drivers, with the team bosses.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's not clear even for the drivers. I mean, we can read about this type of debates or opinions after almost every Grand Prix in the Formula One, and maybe technology can help us to police this kind of things and decide what's what's right and what's not right on the racetrack, and maybe it's easier for the fans to understand a certain situation.
Yeah, police or prevent. And then there's also what we discussed before, Zoltán, the track limits issue, which we saw in the Austrian Grand Prix. That I'm telling you, from inside driving, and you want to be focused on your driving. And what you have in mind right now is that you've already got 2 warnings for track limits for being 2 centimeters over the white line, basically an unjudgeable amount of this distance from the cockpit in these speeds. So turn 9, the penultimate corner in Red Bull Ring. In Formula 2, we go at, I would say, around 180 kilometers per hour, maybe even closer to 200. And judging centimeters is really not the kind of thing you want to do in these kind of circumstances. So if the track layout is so that it requires the car to go out to be faster, maybe so be it, or we have to adjust the track layout to be a bit more curved, or to have gravel or other slowing kind of tools for the cars not to be faster when they go out of line, or any other technology that people may think of, but certainly not to make the drivers so concerned about it and to hand out tens of penalties throughout the race.
We could talk about this for hours, I think, Roy, because I mean, that's a very hot topic nowadays, and these days in car racing, in Formula One, or even in Formula 2, about the sausage curves, different types of curves, etc. But I'm afraid we have to finish right now. Just one more question, one final question to you, Roy. We are discussing and organizing this Zoom meeting on the week of the Hungarian race weekend. How do you prepare for Budapest? I think you know this circuit, all the 14 turns inside out here.
Absolutely. It's my home track and the place I've driven first in a race car. I love it. I know it very well. I'm well prepared from the simulator and well prepared physically, because we're not going to have a lot of break. There are no not too long straights to rest on. It's going to be physical, hot, maybe a bit rainy, because I saw the weather could be interesting as well. But definitely an interesting weekend. So mentally, physically, and skill-wise, prepared.
Gábor, any advice to Roy as a rider?
Advice is difficult because, okay, I did some car race, of course. I have a bit knowledge. I just like to say good luck and enjoy the weekend.